Welcome back, everyone. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, return guest, fellow Bitcoiner, host of Bitcoin Audible and the Shitcoin Insider. I'm talking about Guy Swann. All right, we're going to the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time. Number time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever, hosted in sunny Miami Beach, Florida. President Bukele is going to make a special announcement. There's all these other special speakers. Phil and I are going to speak. It's going to be awesome. Anyways, take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 719,682. The Bitcoin price, 41,455. Chain rewrite days, 690. Total public lightning capacity, 3,331.49. Moscow time, 24:15. Blocks to the halvening, 120,318. Nico, the numbers.
Is it just
frozen
weird?
In time?
We took a day off yesterday just because of scheduling problems, and the Lightning Network capacity was exactly the same.
5 days. I swear. I feel like, I don't know if it's just like, if it's broken here or something.
Is it broken? I think it might be broken because remember we went to the Ambrose website and it said there was a difference. So it might be broken.
I don't know. I mean, I hit refresh.
Might be broken. It might be broken. Anyways,
what else can we do besides refresh?
And let's ask.
I was about to say, have you just hit Control F5? You know, did you try refreshing the page? Can you turn it off and turn it back on again?
You know what? I actually just did that before the show too.
Okay.
So look, maybe it's real. Maybe that is the real number.
I'm gonna look at Ambrose. Anyways, let's see. We'll keep you guys updated. But I want to ask Guy. Guy, how have you been feeling? I already know what you're gonna say because every Bitcoiner says the same thing. But how have you been feeling during this consolidation period? How was 2021 for you? Were you blue ball just as much as we were? You know, a lot of Bitcoiners saying, you know, price is important. I'd say 2021, a lot of events happened in Bitcoin's history that if you've been here a while, you always knew these things would happen. I think a lot of us thought they would come later, not now. So I think 2021 was a huge year. But anyways, we want to get your thoughts. How have you been feeling about all this, bro? Where's your head been at?
Well, I'll tell you, in 2021, I definitely... looking towards the beginning of the year, if you asked me what it was going to be at the end of the year, I envisioned a much more typical hype pattern. And as we got through the middle of the year, I started to question where we are in the phase change from like kind of silly retail to institutional. And I'm increasingly thinking that, like, as far as like where the price is now, this is great. I don't really have much of like, this is still well within the trend that I think we're moving into. And I think we're stretching these, if you look at all the major stats, I think we're really just kind of stretching out these cycles to the point that they're going to start to blend together. And we're just going to have far sharper and, just like you see the little run up, the spikes, and then the crashes that happened in 5 weeks up and 2 weeks down. Like, I think we're going to see 5 months up, 3 months down. I think we're just stretching this thing out until they're just on top of each other, and we're just watching kind of this strong, stable move up and to the right, essentially. But I think really when you're looking at like between a $1 and $2 trillion asset and talking about the next phase of things, there's kind of this big gap of like, it's either going to be 10 trillion or it's not going to go anywhere, you know? So that gap, I think, requires solid competitive environment with nation states, major banks, major institutions, and central banks. And even though 2021 has had some massive events toward that, we're still just barely cracks in the door looking at opening into those environments. And 2021 was the realization that we were going there, I think. It was kind of the culmination of like, this is definitely the next step. And now the question is, what's going to be the next tipping point, what's going to be the next domino that really starts that rolling out. And then maybe it's this year, maybe it's next year. I don't know, but I think it's going to happen a lot quicker than we think. I think a lot of people have already, myself included, already looked back on the El Salvador stuff and be like, oh, obviously. But if you think about 2 days before that was news, how psychotic it would be to say, yeah, El Salvador is about to make that shit legal tender, you know? Like, it was absolutely nuts. That's mind blowing that just happened midway through 2021. Or the announcement, like it literally just happened like 4 months ago, really. And it was September, for crying out loud. And 2022, I think, is just going to be, I don't know, it could be 2 years away still, but I think any number of very small movements in that direction could really start the avalanche, could really start the snowball rolling down the hill. And when it does, it's going to get big quick. It's going to get it's going to get fucking crazy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it had so much momentum in Bitcoin in the beginning of 2021. Then the China ban happened, and then all that hash rate needed to migrate, which it did successfully, and it's making all-time highs. But I really think that just took the momentum out of Bitcoin, and it was really, it was ramping up. I know you remember, right? And then it just kind of, But I agree. I think that this year things are looking good. But at the same time, because things are looking so good, Bitcoin has more adversaries. I think we are definitely in the then they fight you stage, 100%. Phil?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys also saw the news that Google is entering the space somehow, right? They've partnered up with Coinbase and BitPay.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, look, I know right now they're just talking about facilitating payments and stuff like that, or, introducing a wallet, I don't know what, but I'm not really excited about that. So to Nico's point, right, I think we've entered the then they fight you stage. My personal belief is that Google will end up becoming part of the ESG FUD against Bitcoin, right? They're gonna try, because that's the camp that they come from. So
100%. Yeah. Well, I mean,
you tweeted about that yesterday.
Yeah. So go ahead, Guy. Go ahead.
Well, you think about it, like this, I think, is the strongest state for Bitcoin to be in this middle ground between powerful adversaries and powerful allies, because Taleb, take who he is on Twitter with a grain of salt, but I still love his books, absolutely. And Anti-Fragile is still the lessons taken from that book, I think, are still critical to remember. And one of the things that he talks about, and maybe it's just because Bitcoin has been at the shit end of the stick essentially its entire existence, and the whole time that I've been with it. Like I tell people sometimes, and I tell it because it's true, like this is how I feel when things are going really, really well for Bitcoin. I get agitated. I get like uncomfortable, because that's not how Bitcoin's life has been. It feels odd. It feels like what's waiting, under the surface when things are going great. When's the next shoe going to drop, or whatever it is. And so when it's openly being fought, it's like, okay, we're back in the right timeline, and a anti-fragile thing that has no adversary, that has no stressors, is stagnant. It atrophies. Mm-hmm. A anti-fragile thing that is being fought grows stronger.
Yes. And
it's funny, you talk about like the mining situation in China and the full ban. And 50% of the hash power basically cutting offline, and then over the next 2 months, 3 months, all coming back online elsewhere around the world. It's one of those things, much like at the end of 2017, when the forks finally played out and the quote unquote block size war concluded, was that, it seemed like this was devastating for Bitcoin, and you had this huge shift in the network and in the protocol, and you had the split in the culture and the communities. and these basically two main directions between Bitcoin and crypto, so to speak. And that was very bearish for the price in the short term. But that event and the outcome of all of that was one of the most bullish events for me over the long term. Like looking at that, like what the outcome of that was, even then, like while the price was just nothing but red, just blood red candles, you know, I was just like, this worked, you know, like I think we've lost the hype, we've just lost the temporary boom mentality because Bitcoin was tested again, but it passed, you know, like this was a great outcome. And that's kind of where how I feel about the China ban and all the movement from hash power out of China is how quickly that took place and how completely non-existent the issue was on the protocol. It's not like Lightning Network suddenly started breaking because we lost half the hash power. Like nothing changed. Nothing. I didn't even notice it. Like if it weren't for the fact that I was watching it day in and day out, my general use of Bitcoin was so unaffected as to be meaningless. I never would have had the slightest clue. I kept using it exactly as it always was. Lightning Network worked great. And what other thing anywhere on the planet, what could you lose half of the global infrastructure of and have no outage? You know?
Yep.
Like,
right?
What a testament to how brilliant this foundation of this system is, and how much you can rely on it, even in the face of basically one of the largest, arguably the largest economic power on the planet saying you're not allowed. And what happened? Nothing.
The honey badger doesn't
shit.
care. Honey badger doesn't care.
Honey badger don't care.
Honey badger don't care. Exactly. I completely agree with you. I think that the great hash migration is, I would say, on par with the block size wars in terms of significance in Bitcoin's history in terms of stress test. And it passed it with flying colors.
I would say block size wars. It passed it with flying colors. But I would say the block size wars were higher because we still didn't know if the game theory was true. It was all just theory. You know?
That's right.
Like, we were still in a place where it felt like Bitcoin could die. Like this might really just kind of go sideways.
So, so perhaps I'm a little biased, right? But I mine,
okay.
Right? So I understand how difficult it is to move that infrastructure, to find a location. I knew that the hash rate would inevitably recover. I just didn't think of how quickly it would recover. And I think that it recovering so quickly really showed the incentive provided by Bitcoin. And I think that in itself really showed, you see all the investing in mining right now. Marathon it's a public company, of course. I would want more individual miners, but $876 billion. $876 million. They want to buy 78,000 S19 XPs. Like it's just, and I really think that shows the incentive provided by the network. One of the most profitable times to mine in recent history was when that China ban happened. Like overnight, just you were making 50% more money, and I think it was absolutely wild. So I think that and this is the beauty of Bitcoin, right? We're just seeing it from the perspectives of where we are in our rabbit hole experience, right? So yeah, I definitely agree with you though. It's absolutely crazy, and now you have nation states left and right saying we're going to ban it, we're not going to ban it. They figure out that they can't ban it, and then they kind of they're like, okay, kind of let's see how everybody wins. So it's just crazy to see all this. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Fail.
The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. It's the easiest way to buy Bitcoin. Their spokesperson is a Muppet. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
So let's take a look at this thing. This is a tweet from the World Economic Forum, okay? And yes, I'm going to show the link, okay, with Ethereum and the World Economic Forum. But hold on, that's not why we're dissecting this tweet. We're dissecting it because it comes from Blockgeeks. But let's take a look at it, okay? Let's take a look at this thing. Proof of work is a requirement to define an expensive computer calculation, also called mining. Now let's take a look at their definition of proof of stake. Proof of stake, the creator of a new block is chosen in a deterministic way depending on its wealth, also defined as stake. Then we go take a look at the next piece that they have here. It's interesting that they make them look like a thief, right? On the proof of work side. Now this is
he's got like a little mask on. It's like,
right?
What is this shit?
The Bitcoiner's a thief,
He's a
right?
super secret shadowy miner.
Yeah.
But he's a super happy good staker.
Right? I swear, look, a reward is given to the first miner who solves each block's problems, and he looks sketch AF. And then you go and look at the shitcoiner, right? He's got the little Ethereum logo, right? He doesn't have a logo of a different shitcoin. Is an Ethereum
Which
logo.
runs on proof of work, just so you know.
hey, but guy, they said they're gonna switch.
It's going
4 years ago.
Any day now.
It's gonna happen.
Any day now.
So here we go. The proof of stake
Soon,
system,
TM.
there's no... Oh, sorry?
Oh, I just said soon, TM.
Oh, yeah. So the proof of stake system, there's no block reward, so the miners take the transaction fees. And then at the bottom, right, we've got the network miners compete to be the first to find a solution for the mathematical problem, which sounds fair. That sounds like it works properly. Proof of stake currencies can be several thousand times more cost effective. But what you really have to pay attention to is the interesting symbolism, right? You've got this one person with the big bag, and over here you've got these three people.
That seemed like an odd
and they're all
choice.
working together with no bag, huh?
Yeah, that seemed like an odd choice of visualization.
It might be a
Did they not
Freudian
realize
slip.
what that looks like?
It might be a Freudian slip, dude. Like, it's just one person with the big bag, and then the Bitcoin is three people equally trying to mine that Bitcoin. Oh man. Anyways.
Okay, so here we go.
And I
right?
love that also that last point, they don't really have anything to do with each other. Like it doesn't talk about, like it doesn't say proof of stake. Like they're not even analogous to what they say. It just says proof of stake is better at the, you know, like it's not about like, oh, there's miners competing, there's stakers competing. You know, you would think that they would be point for point. Like they're just comparing something.
That's right.
Whereas, and then in the point above, the second point for proof of stake, the proof of stake system, there is no block reward. I don't know of a single proof of stake system in which there is no block reward, except for the one that doesn't exist yet, that they're saying is going to exist. So there's no proof of stake system that isn't about inflation.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make
does
any
anybody
sense.
know of a single one? You know, like
No.
I don't know.
Okay,
Just
but
crazy.
let's dive into this, right? Because the whole key is, right, these points have been debunked. Nico actually showed on a previous episode a tweet by David Zell, which we are going to have in the show notes, which is this tweet here, which covers all of these points. But I just wanted to show that quickly in passing, because let's all go back in time to a few episodes that we've already done, right? We talked about how we just showed that tweet with the World Economic Forum, and you see an ETH logo. Well, we've shown this before. Here is the executive board of the Ethereum Foundation, and here you have Aya Miyaguchi, who's the executive director, okay? And here you go. You have the World Economic Forum website, okay, where we can all clearly see that in 2019 she was appointed to the World Economics Forum Blockchain Global Council. So now we see that little tie with the World Economic Forum, but then you got to ask yourself, like,
Little tie?
small tie. You know, it's you know, we're just tinfoil hatters, right?
Bro,
You
they
can't
named
trust
it-
Well,
us.
think about it. If she is their source, you know, like what possible narrative is she going to give? Like, how could this be anything? And this is what like Bitcoiners have been talking about forever.
Yep.
Like, crypto is not going to align with Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to happily, gleefully dance on the grave of Bitcoin if the opportunity ever comes to get the establishment onto a proof of stake system that they can partner with so that they can all buy their Lambos and the establishment can keep their power. They can keep their authority over the network. And that's what this is. Like,
100%.
it could not be more obvious that is the play here.
Oh yeah.
1,000,000%, and they're going to use the ESG FUD and the environment to go after Bitcoin. Unfortunately for them, though, we have some very, very smart Bitcoiners, rebutting, but yeah, they're going to try anyways.
So this, right, that tweet that we saw from the World Economic Forum was from Blockgeek. So we're going to go take a look at Blockgeek. Join the largest blockchain education portal. Notice it's not a Bitcoin education portal. It's a blockchain education portal. And then we'll quickly just take a look at some of the free courses that they offer here. Introductory to blockchain and cryptocurrency, blockchain use cases, introduction to some shitcoin. All right, more introduction to shitcoin, more introduction to shitcoin. Oh, okay. All right.
Every single one of them's just a, what about this shitcoin? Or this shitcoin?
It's all shitcoin. So right, like, I mean, who's backing Blockgeek, right? So we got to go take a look at Blockgeeks and see, you know, who are the founders? Okay, so we've got a gentleman here, Amir Rosic. We've got Dmitry Buterin, who is Vitalik's father, and Vlad Martinov. All right, well, let's go quickly take a look.
I'm sure there's no association between Dmitry Buterin and Vitalik. I'm sure they have nothing. I'm sure Vitalik isn't involved at all, and he has no idea about any of this.
No way. No way.
Never.
We sound like
Why
we
would
sound
that
insane.
be? Good Lord. You take your tinfoil hat off, sir.
Exactly. All right, so the first gentleman we'll dive into here, Amir Rosic, right? We're not going to go through the whole thing, but just, you know, a zoom out point. Amir Rosic is a serial entrepreneur, marketing expert, angel investor, and a blockchain evangelist as the CEO of Blockgeeks. Okay, so total shitcoining. All right, next. Vlad Martinov, right? Well, look what Vlad does. He's one of the members of the advisory board for Ethereum since 2016. Okay, so we know he's not aligned over there. And then, of course, we have Dmitry Buterin, right? Which, as Guy alluded to, may or may not be the father of Vitalik. And here we go. Like his son, Vitalik, Dmitry Buterin is a savvy entrepreneur with an eye to righting the wrongs of the world. They just want to save the world if you just do what they say.
That's the key word there, bro. Entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. Entrepreneur.
Okay.
Right? Satoshi created Bitcoin and disappeared. Vitalik stays around because he's an entrepreneur. It's a business. Anyway.
So in the article, just to wrap this up, right, Dmitry Buterin, father of Ethereum inventor Vitalik, is a Russian-Canadian entrepreneur and angel investor. He explains why ETH's 2017 highs were premature and highlights some of the best projects building on the platform. So there you go. You have a publication that is tweeted out by the World Economic Forum. Okay, and you can clearly see that this publication, that actual piece, is backed by Ethereum. Okay, it's backed completely by Ethereum, and it is completely supported by the World Economic Forum. This is a huge scam. I don't see how nobody sees this. And they just keep showing it in broad daylight, and nobody cares, and everybody just wants to sit there and, you know,
dude, think about
pockets.
it. The World Economic Forum, the dollar, like the system we're under is a scam. Why would what they move to not be? Like, how would they? Like that's the big thing, is that people think that what's normal, what we've been used to, is somehow more legitimate. Like the dollar, I mean, shit, Ethereum is like a really serious scam, but the dollar's worse. Like it really is, at least while Ethereum's proof of work. Like after its proof of stake, I feel like it's probably not going to be a whole lot different. But at least right now, it is better than the dollar, but it is still a giant scam. And it's huge VC funded. Like it's all like it's treated like a platform. It's run like a platform. Its infrastructure behaves like a platform. AWS is more distributed than Ethereum. In fact, Ethereum claims that they are distributed because they're on a bunch of different AWS servers, because AWS is distributed. It's like, what the, do you not hear? Do you not know what that means? That you're saying that this centralized company that runs all of your infrastructure does a good job of distributing their computers geographically, therefore it's robust. So because Amazon runs the thing, it's distributed. Do you know what validation means? Do you know why cryptography is even a part of this? Why did you put cryptography in it? You just slowed everything down. Why do you have proof of work? It just, the whole thing's such a giant contradiction unless you know what their goal is. The goal is a blockchain facade on top of rebuilding the system with new widgets and shiny new code.
And more control.
Yeah,
Definitely more control.
At least to maintain the same.
Yeah.
At least if we're going to move over to it, we will not give up our position. And that is the system that will allow them to make sure that is the case.
Yeah, man, I completely agree, and I'm honestly, and we're gonna touch upon this a little bit during the news. It's very clear that they are mobilizing. It's starting to be coordinated, and you start to notice this in the mainstream narrative, because of it's just the same words and same little sound bits over and over again. And they 100%
very dangerous for our democracy.
Correct. And with Bitcoin, it's like, they use so much energy, it boils the oceans. It's the same rhetoric over and over again. And it's just meant to essentially keep the majority of the people thinking that Bitcoin is their enemy. And these proof of stake coins, all of a sudden, you'll start to see, we'll get to the Congress hearing in a little bit, we'll get to the European news in a little bit, and you'll start to see that all of a sudden they think proof of work is the problem, but proof of stake is a solution, right? And that happens to align with the World Economic Forum, right? And their agenda, right? The globalist agenda, the elite agenda, right? Bitcoin is for the people. And Ethereum, again, it creates an even worse quintillionaire class, a group of elite people that control everybody else. And they control the vast majority of wealth, especially when they move to a proof-of-stake system. It'll get even worse than the fiat dollar, right? So, yeah, man, I completely agree with you, Guy. And this is the battle of our time. Like, it's going to get nasty, for sure.
Can't wait.
I was just going to say,
so
they'll
excited.
enslave us all with ESG.
I like a good challenge.
ESG is the social credit system. Anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, articles, comics by toxic Bitcoiners, and it's scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. Get your print of Citadel 21 today. All right, this isn't a meme, guys, but you know the drill. Sometimes we cover notable events in picture forms during the meme review. And, they're having really trouble, Reuters, the mainstream media, covering up, the Great Reset stuff. So it's funny because this is verdict. This is misinformation. There is no evidence the Great Reset is part of the ominous plan by the World Economic Forum to control people, right? And then literally later... Literally on the payroll, Reuters partners with the World Economic Forum for exclusive content distribution on Reuters Connect. And then Poso says, literally on the payroll, no conflict of interest there. And if you still think Phil and I are tinfoil hat people, this was a tweet by the World Economic Forum. It doesn't say Ethereum, and they focused on orange. They really want to let you know it's not blockchain or crypto. It's Bitcoin. Anyways, in 2020, Bitcoin will consume more power than the world does today. Total lie. But anyways, doesn't stop them. Next meme is an actual meme brought to us by HODLBits. Communists have always been smart, haven't they? China, hash rate ban, hash rate all time. Listen, it's funny, but I don't think the Chinese are that stupid. Like, it might be an ideological thing, but I still, just... It's important to be prepared. Anyways, the state regulations Bitcoin. Awesome meme. And it is by Dennis Parker. Next meme brought to us by the Meme Factory. Your family when you play Monopoly with them and you start talking about the Rothschilds and the Federal Reserve. Okay, Rally, we got tagged by them. Shout out to Rally. Pretty much, I really like them too. KYC free Bitcoin in the European Union up to a certain amount, and they're using some Swiss law. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, their CEO's a good dude.
Yep, Bitcoin in 2021, Bitcoin in 2022. Jeff Bezos. Yeah, I agree. You know what I find ironic about this is that he controls Ethereum. He's really the controller of Ethereum. What's that word that they use for this fancy
title? He runs
title?
that shit and he doesn't even know it.
Jeff Bezos is the comptroller of the currency of Ethereum. Ooh. All right. Big Sean Harris. There's no second best. Hey, Bitcoin already exists, right? Shitcoin developer. Not interested in that old tech. I'm working on the next Bitcoin. It's so true. And I can't wait for Lightning just to keep breaking shitcoin narratives, right? And for that, I'm going to give it this opened Amazon package. Yeah. What about you, Phil?
I like that. I like that. You know what? And in the spirit of lightning, okay, I am giving it the spool of solder.
A spool of solder.
That's right.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of wishy-washy rating, personally. You know, I give it a whole two-thirds of a can of peanuts.
Oh, but those are hotel peanuts, so they're overpriced, and you opened them anyways. Oh!
I
did. Are they salted?
I got 5% back on this, by the way, with Fold.
Oh, shout out to that.
All right, so at least you got to stack some sats.
It's true. It's worth it. It's worth it when you get some sats back. It's always worth it because like these sats back one day might be able to pay for my peanuts. You know, so I agree.
We used 12. My wife and I sat there and we were like, spin. I've been stacking up some spins. We used like 15 of them on the hotel and everything, and then we're like, "Oh, just buy everything, 5% back."
That's awesome. Yeah, but I mean, it's just so convenient that you have to open. When I go to the hotel, I'm like, I don't care if the water bottle's $15. Let me just open it, you know, because they got you.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning and nothing is open.
They got you. They got you trapped. Like, they know. Anyways, guys, do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comment section. And, of course, join us on alternative video platforms because we talk shit about the World Economic Forum and central banks, like Rumble.com and our personal favorite, BitcoinTV.com. They don't censor there because it's Bitcoin TV. And, of course, join our Telegram group. Link us some Bitcoin memes to review. Because without the Bitcoin memes, it wouldn't be a meme review. It would just be a review of nothing because there would be no Bitcoin memes. So we need you to join the Telegram group to link us some Bitcoin memes so we can review them on the Bitcoin meme review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily News. The Daily News is brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed Bitcoin Freedom Grenade opens up to put your favorite hardware wallet, or the 3D printed Bitcoin Honey Badger also opens up, put your anything you want in there, really. Anyways, you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off anything on the website, CryptoCloaks.com. All right, guys, so we said in the beginning of the show, I'm happy that Guy said what he said about Bitcoin. It's supposed to be attacked so it could get stronger. A lot of this is going to get dark, but there is some good stuff in the beginning, at the end. But anyways, let's start with this. Bank of Russia just announced calls for full Bitcoin ban. Full ban on Bitcoin and shitcoin. The report, Cryptocurrencies Trend Risk Measures, yeah, of course, that's the reason, was presented during an online press conference with Elizaveta Danilova, the director of the Bank of Russia's Financial Stability Department. The report says Bitcoin and shitcoins are volatile and widely used in illegal activities such as fraud. By offering an outlet for people to take their money out of the national economy, they risk undermining it and making the regulators' jobs of maintaining optimal monetary policies harder, the report said. The bank therefore said Russia needs new laws and regulations to effectively ban Bitcoin and shitcoin related activities. The bank is not suggesting banning ownership of Bitcoin and shitcoin by private citizens, Danilova said. So just banning the places where they buy it, you know. And there's a little bit of a Freudian slip there as well, right? They risk undermining it and making the regulators' job of maintaining optical like, they've done such a terrible job, and that's why people are flooding to Bitcoin. Like, it's not, you know what I'm saying?
You realize that if your monetary policy wasn't dog shit, people would not have a reason to leave.
Yep.
Like, you're admitting defeat by saying everybody is voluntarily leaving this volatile, difficult to use, unfamiliar technology because we are so bad at our jobs that we can't even incentivize them to stay in an established national currency for one of the greatest superpowers on the planet. Like, that's a pretty substantial failure.
They need a hammer. They need a hammer. They need coercion to try to keep you within the system. But we know that doesn't work, right? And
this is where
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, this is where the dynamics of state power come in. And I think we'll be in a really interesting space for like watching this game theory play out, because most of the larger countries that actually have established national currencies are going to be incentivized to be angry at this thing, to not like this thing. However, if there are Bitcoin inflows to the United States and Bitcoin outflows, capital outflows from somewhere like Russia, while we're in the midst of, are we going to war with Russia over Ukraine? Like, while, you know, like everything that's going on in the, far Eastern European and like above, the the pipeline through
Germany.
Jesus Christ, you know what I'm talking about. All the disputes that are going on, like the pipeline from Russia to China right now, it's basically been shut down, and this constant unfolding of these like kind of backdoor battles is that whether it's Russia, whether it's United States, whether it's China, whether it's Ukraine itself, one of these countries is going to begin to realize how important either protecting, defending quietly, like not so blatantly, but in a political sense, like undermining their competitor, whether it be Russia or something, by quietly supporting Bitcoin, or attacking Bitcoin because some ally is being threatened or themselves are being threatened. So as we get into this kind of new sphere of things, this is what will make the generals in the U.S. and the administration start wondering about whether or not they should ban Bitcoin if they think Russia is scared about this and it's undermining their economy and it's causing capital outflows. Well, maybe we should embrace this because right now our focus is to slap Russia. And then vice versa. China is going to see if this starts becoming an outflow from the U.S. and the dollar starts to like really start to see cracks, and the bond market starts to, basically the floor out from underneath the bond market starts to collapse. Well, then maybe China re-embraces it because they see an opportunity to to rug pull the United States. And we're entering into this phase while at the exact same time, and I think the best case scenario for Bitcoin is a whole crap ton of South American and African countries who have been completely just suckered into the dollar or the CFA franc or the yuan or whatever it is, are so sick of just being the pawn for these giant countries, decide why not have two currencies? Why not mine a little bit of Bitcoin? We really have nothing to lose. We already just have to do whatever the fuck U.S. decides we're going to do this month. So, what do I have to lose? And if you get 20 of those countries, 30 of those countries, like just domino after domino, realizing the amount of capital that could inflow into their country and how it could completely change their remittance and just the general dynamics of all of their economic activity and the growth potential for the next 10 years. You've got such a fascinating political dynamic. Like the theory that would play out here, like this is why I think this is going to be the most fascinating period of Bitcoin. Like the next 5 years are going to be where all of the little trends and the little dominoes start to fall that put us on paths that you just can't go back from. And that is what's to watch for the next 2-3 years up to the next halving.
100%. Guy, we've been saying it on the show. You said countries that most benefit from the legacy financial system, they don't have those nation states don't have the incentive to go to something like Bitcoin, but countries that least benefit from the legacy financial system, like the Kingdom of Tonga, like El Salvador, hopefully Guatemala, hopefully Turkey, right? We saw Erdogan and Nayib Bukele meet up, that least benefit from, they're like, hey, let's try Bitcoin. Why not? So I completely agree. But anyways, I think things are going to get darker before they get better. So we got a suggestion of a ban from the Central Bank of Russia. Let's see how that plays out. Now, check out this article by the Financial Times. EU should ban energy-intensive mode of crypto mining. Check out the signal in that headline.
Mode.
What is that mode that they're talking about? Well, they're going to tell you. A top EU financial regulator has renewed calls for a block-wide ban on the main form of Bitcoin mining. And it didn't say crypto. It said Bitcoin mining by name. And sounded the alarm over the rising proportion of renewable energy devoted to crypto mining. You hear that?
The hilarity of that post is that it goes completely against everything they've said up to this point. Yes. That Bitcoin mining is dirty and Bitcoin mining incentives coal. incentivizes coal. Now they have to admit that, oh yeah, it's like all the renewable energy is actually what's mining Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin is very clean, and therefore now they're just stealing all our renewable energy.
It's absolutely crazy. And then, but here, check out the conflict of interest. Vice Chair of the European Securities and Markets Authority told the Financial Times that Bitcoin mining had become a national issue for his native currency, Sweden, and warned that cryptocurrency posed a risk to meeting climate change goals in the Paris Agreement. By the way, guys, if you want to know where ESG was created, right, where it was in the backroom deals, it was the Paris Agreement. That's where the ESG, that's where all the countries agreed on that. Just to give you guys some reference. So you want to know where the Great Reset and the World Economic Forum, a lot of it came from the Paris Agreement. Just so you guys know. I'm not conspiracy theory. These are all fucking facts that you can check on your own, and I suggest that you do so. But anyways, check this out. Vice Chair of the European Securities and Markets Authorities, right? It's a little conflict of interest. Anyways, Deedon said that the European regulators should consider banning a mining method known as proof of work, instead nudge the industry towards the less energy-intensive proof-of-stake model to cut down on the sector's vast power usage. Man, now connect this with what the World Economic Forum is doing. Connect this with what I'm about to talk about, right? Which was this hearing, which we covered a couple days ago. We actually covered David Zell's response that Phil showed during the Daily Fail. And essentially, this letter was sent to Congress. I'm going to read some of it. And essentially, Congress reacted with announcing a hearing on Bitcoin's energy usage. And the name of the hearing, check this out, guys, is called Cleaning Up Cryptocurrency. Anyways, here's some of the letter, right? I think it's bullshit. As congressional leadership thinks through changes in the regulatory landscape for crypto, an important part that is often let out are the real negative climate and environmental justice effects which merit close attention by policymakers. We, the more than 70 climate, economic, racial justice businesses and local organizations, write to you today to urge Congress to take steps to mitigate the considerable contribution portions of the cryptocurrency market are making to climate change and the resulting greenhouse gas emissions, environmental and climate justice impacts it will have. Now, the funny part about that is the racial justice aspect, right?
Yeah,
because Bitcoin actually helps people that live in totalitarian governments that are disconnected from the legacy financial system because of the place that they were born in. So again, it's kind of a paradox, right? It absolutely doesn't make sense. And better yet, I want to play you guys a little bit of the highlights of the meeting that happened today in Congress, and then we'll kind of, we'll all talk about it. So let's check it out.
I hope that we will start to dig into crucial oversight. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have grown increasingly popular in the past few years. One of the main reasons cryptocurrency remains successful is the technology behind it, blockchain.
My name is Ari Jules. I'm a faculty member at Cornell Tech and Cornell University. My main area of research is blockchain technologies. If my testimony achieves nothing else today, I would like to drive home one key point. Bitcoin does not equal blockchain. The tremendous promise of blockchain technology does not require Bitcoin or its energy-intensive component called proof of work. In fact, some of the most exciting developments in the blockchain industry today are happening outside of the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Can you explain very briefly what is it about proof of work that creates, quote, inherent waste? And is there a way to do the proof of work technique that doesn't involve this waste?
Yeah, thank you. That's an important question. Maybe the best way to explain is to say we've all had the frustrating experience of solving these little puzzles online, where you pick out images of cars or bridges to access a website. This is to ensure that you're a human being and not a bot pretending to be many people and attacking the website. Proof of work is basically a type of puzzle that prevents one computer from pretending to be many computers. It's effective, but as we've discussed, in large systems, it consumes a large amount of energy and computation. The resources in proof of work are wasted in the specific sense that they serve no other useful purpose.
This hurts me so much.
No useful purpose outside the system that they're meant to protect. There's an opportunity cost in the computational energy resources used for proof of work that could potentially be used for other goals. But more importantly, as I testified, we have energy efficient alternatives to proof of work like proof of stake.
Thank you for convening this important.
Okay, guys, I hope you're understanding what is going on. Right,
it's so bad.
This is what I said. This is a combined front. We have Europe calling, the member, right? We have in the United States calling again, using the moral virtue of a lot of these, woke movements, unfortunately, to essentially, get in through the back door, right? And it's, it's for the betterment of the planet. All these things. The good news, though, is that we had two very smart gentlemen. We had John Belzari. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but he works for Belazaire. Thank you.
Is that right?
Yeah, thank you, Guy.
I don't know. It was a guess.
And he works for a Bitcoin and shitcoin mining operation. And we had the CEO of Bitfury, which is one of I wouldn't say the biggest, but a very well known and a long time player in the Bitcoin mining industry in the United States of America. And they rebutted a lot of the points made. So at least in the US, there's discussion, and that's what I'm the most hyped about. So I think that these globalists are going to try with this narrative. They're really going to try, but unfortunately, because of the incentives provided by Bitcoin mining, like we saw by the China ban, unless these nation states provide a better incentive, we saw the news from China that even though there was a complete and total ban, it's estimated that around 20% of the hash rate still remains in China. Could you imagine that? One of the most totalitarian regimes in the world. And the incentives of Bitcoin are so strong that people mine Bitcoin anyway. And I actually talked to a buddy of mine who lives in mainland China. And I said, hey, what about the ban? He's like, man, it's been banned many times. No one cares. What doesn't kill Bitcoin makes it stronger. This is someone in mainland China, and that's what he's saying to me, right? So anyways, I'm going to shut up and let's hear what John has to say.
Hearing and for inviting me to testify today. My name is John Belazaire, and I am the founder and CEO of Soluna Computing. We're a developer of green data centers for cryptocurrency mining and other batchable computing. The point I want you to remember from my testimony today is that crypto's energy consumption is a feature, not a bug. You're appropriately exploring the narrative that the energy demands of cryptocurrency will destabilize our grid, and I'm here to tell you that the narrative is wrong. Crypto computing can be a catalyst for clean energy development, which will reduce pollution and create local jobs.
Now, even more relevant than Bitcoin's current energy use is the incentive effect it has on the future production of renewable energy. Bitcoin miners seek low energy costs, and the lowest cost always comes from excess capacity, which can include wind and solar energy and energy lost in the transmission and distribution process, among other things. As just one example, in 2020, in California, where I live, 1.5 million megawatt hours of solar production was curtailed, meaning wasted, because production exceeded demand. And the US grid loses literally thousands of terawatts a year due to inefficient transmission. Now, because Bitcoin miners are easily able to locate near the source of production, these kinds of excess capacity sources can be turned into economic value through Bitcoin mining. And this has the effect of taking what can be an unprofitable business, for example, solar, and making it profitable. Put differently, if we want more wind and solar in this country with less need for government subsidy, Bitcoin can be part of the solution.
So, look, as you can see, when there's an open forum, these people have a very hard time, keeping up that narrative as long as there's an open forum, right? Which is why it's so important that we keep making a ruckus on Twitter, keep getting that information out, right? Here's Nick Carter. He did an excellent job at rebutting, the letter that was sent to Congress. He says these are the sources, right? ForexSuggest.com, Digiconomist, Paid Oppo Research, Dutch Central Bank affiliated many times, Cambridge, right? Like Bitcoin Mining Company, the largest sample of industry data, 0 times. Anyways, it looks like the sightings that this letter used were a little flawed. And of course, we're going to put down all this in the link description. I recommend that you guys look into it as well. Here is Nick Can't Mind, one of the legendary Bitcoin Zoomers, and he actually did a little bit of digging on who this professor was, right? Says this congressional hearing is literally Bitcoiners versus shitcoiners. And this is exactly what Guy Swann was saying in the beginning. This is exactly what he was saying in terms of, listen, shitcoining is very fiat. It's a fiat type of mentality, so they don't care about destroying essentially a technology that has the potential to free mankind if it means that they're going to get their Lamborghinis, right? And it's exactly what you're seeing here, right? It's like Bitcoin mining is bad, but let me tell you about proof of stake, right? And that's what this meeting composed of, right? It wasn't so Bitcoin and proof of stake is bad. No. Is Bitcoin is bad, proof of stake good, right? So it's literally a Bitcoin and shitcoin meeting. But anyways, he did a little digging, and here is the professor with Vitalik. Dude is shilling proof of stake, right? So look, it's like, man, like, come on. The conflict of interest there is unreal. Here is the letter that was sent that Phil already showed. I recommend that you guys read this. It's by the Bitcoin Policy Institute. And here's this amazing thread by Durgigi, and he explains a failure to understand proof of work is a failure to understand Bitcoin. I'm going to read a little bit of it, but I recommend that you guys read the whole thing. Says decentralized systems by definition do not have a single source of truth. Satoshi's breakthrough was to build a system that allows all participants to zero in on that same truth independently. Proof of work is what allows this to happen. The point of proof of work is to create an irrefutable history. If two histories compete, the one with the most work embedded in it wins. The chain with the most work is the truth by definition. This is what we call Nakamoto consensus. Why does this work? In short, because work requires energy. You can't cheat it. You can't argue with it. You can't lie about it. The proof that you did the work is self-evident in the outcome of the work, right? So again, it's what John Belazier said. Sorry if I'm butchering his name, but you know who I'm talking about in your head. Bitcoin's energy usage is a feature, not a bug. It's what makes Bitcoin uncorruptible, and because of that, I hope the hash rate keeps going up forever. Because the higher the hash rate, theoretically, the higher Bitcoin is to attack, right? And the higher the value proposition. So you guys should hope that the Bitcoin hash rate goes up forever. Now, just because it goes up forever doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to use more energy. What it means is that it's going to force energy players to become even more efficient, which is what the CEO of Bitfury was talking about, which was what the other gentleman was talking about. And this is why it's so important, guys. And you think that the Twitter warfare is just irrelevant. This is why it's so important for the memes, for the comebacks, for the posts on all the World Economic Forum things. Just make sure, comment, just say your bit, right? So, and hopefully what you'll do is you'll get some people looking, it's like, why did it get ratioed? What's going on here, right? And this is why they took away the dislike button on YouTube. This is why they're banning so many people off Twitter, because there's an official narrative, and the official narrative is collapsing. And they're just trying to extinguish. They're trying to put out all the fires at the same time. But the unfortunate part about the internet is that unless you do like a great firewall of China and have a whole army of people censoring people, if you kind of censor people, it doesn't work, and the truth just slips out anyways. So exactly what Guy said, and then I'll shut up. I'm very excited to see how this all plays out in the next 5 years. It's going to be a hell of a ride.
100%. And I'll say, as someone who thinks wind and solar are garbage technologies when you implement them at scale, they are unreliable. They do not help the grid. In fact, they make the reliability of the grid worse. They're great in, I don't even know if wind is great at a small scale. I guess you could argue that it kind of is. But solar is wonderful at small scale. That's kind of the beauty of solar as an energy option, is that it's a great way to decentralize the source of energy. It's great to put it on a roof. Your roof doesn't do shit else, you know? Like, it's a great way to accompany or, subsidize, quote unquote, subsidize your own energy production at home. But when you start talking about like just clearing acres and acres and acres for solar, and then one hailstorm comes through and you like, or wind causes all these problems, and it produces max at noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon when almost nobody's consuming energy, and it produces crap. at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the afternoon when everybody is consuming the most energy of the day. Like it's completely imbalanced. So as someone who believes that the large scale wind and solar is actually a net negative to the security and the reliability of our grid, Bitcoin is the best thing that ever happened to either. By leaps and bounds, the idea that there's a natural subsidy, something that is sustainable, that doesn't take $1 trillion of money printing and like government contracts every year just to keep the industry alive. It's survived on subsidies since like 2003. It's the only reason we have a solar industry. The idea that we can actually do this sustainably now, and it could actually scale because we can offload every single watt of completely wasted solar and wind production into a Bitcoin miner, and we could secure the money instead. Bitcoin is the best thing that ever happened to either. Like, it's the only way that government could leave and it could still be here. Otherwise, it's just a giant drain that only exists because of subsidies and corporate contracts with the government. That's it. That's the only reason it's even there.
I absolutely agree. Phil, hit that, Phil.
Yeah, we are totally about to find out. We're totally about to find out exactly how much all these governments and all of these quote-unquote groups actually give a shit about the environment and renewable energy and all this stuff. Because, look, from all of these stories, right, from listening through everything that Nico went through, it's clear, right? This has nothing to do with renewable energy. This has nothing to do with saving the planet or doing what's right and all that good stuff. These are all just narratives. These are all just narratives to further control and whatever, you know, their incentives push them to. Because the reality is that, to your point, Guy, the technology that is going to come about from mining Bitcoin, right? Essentially the energy savings that we're going to get. And I think the innovation that we're going to see in energy technologies, like not only that, but like, you know, if we take a look at solar panels, right? The big problem is that with them, they don't have, you can't store the energy from them that efficiently yet. Right? Like, I forget what the loss number is. I forget what the statistic is for the loss, but it's a lot, right? Like the difference between the actual energy that you absorb from the sun and what actually, you know, that becomes usable. I think you're left with like 30%. I could be completely wrong. I apologize. But either way.
Basically, just for a decent stat on that is that it converts so little usefully, and it actually gets worse at scale. So essentially every additional solar panel that you add, like at scale, gives you marginally less return. So whereas you might get 60% of your first solar panel as useful energy, you only get like 58% of your second, 57% of your third, et cetera, et cetera. And that if you look at it from kind of an economic perspective and you look at like just kind of the whole grid, there's essentially a theoretic maximum at about 15% of the grid that it just becomes, you get $0 of added energy to add another solar panel. This is something that I first heard about in a TED Talk, and there's like a bunch of links to like kind of the source material for that. And a lot of countries have been running into this, and this is why like it requires so much subsidy just to actually keep it going and install new power, because you don't get any energy out of it. There's no net positive. The marginal return is nothing after a certain point. And Bitcoin can fundamentally change that, because as long as you could have solar panels that for 90% of the day, 95% of the day produce nothing, and then only produce 10% of their max capacity at like 6 o'clock in the afternoon at like dusk, but you can still offload that 95% into Bitcoin mining. Yep. You can offload that other 95% into proof of work. And there's actually a reason to have those solar panels. It completely changes the underlying dynamics of the marginal return to continue adding solar panels. So anyway, there's just a little tidbit to add to it. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I appreciate that. Sorry, I just want to finish out.
Go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just want to finish out so the point is that Bitcoin, once again, right, as the truth-bearing asset, it's going to prove what all of these people's, right, the cards that they're holding. Because look, these technologies are going to get better. The incentives are going to align. People are going to create that. And then so what happens then, right? What's the problem with Bitcoin now? That's gonna be our question, right? What's the problem now?
Power.
Right?
You heard Hillary Clinton. You know what? One of the things that I appreciate about Donald Trump is that at least compared to all the politicians, the dude is transparent, right? And when he was talking about Bitcoin,
he has no filter. That guy has no filter.
He's like, look, it competes against the dollar. I don't like it. You know, Hillary Clinton kind of beat around the bush and was like, this is, you know, the mining. This might be a threat to the stability of nation states, you know, and she's kind of taking the angle of like, this is a threat to the financial system. Trump's like, nah, this just competes against the dollar. This is bad for us. You know, he's just looking at it in this most simplistic way. But what I find hilarious is that Melania was selling the NFT. Anyways, I don't get carried away. Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. The software releases are brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. Store your seed in the Cypher Wheel or the all-new Cypher Grid. Comes with the punch tool and the tamper-resistant wire. All right, we've got Samurai Wallet version 0.99.98B that was released. That is a privacy-centric Bitcoin wallet. Check it out down below. And just remember, everyone, rain or shine, Monday through Saturday, except when we say, which today we said, that there wasn't going to be an episode. But yes, remember, you can catch us also on audio only with Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, I want to give a very special shout-out to a dear friend of ours, the legendary, the Guy Swann. You can go check out his podcast. He's the host of the Bitcoin Audible and the Shitcoin Insider. Definitely go check him out. And check out his website, GuySwann.com, which we will put down in the link description. Anyways, guys, that was the show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Oh, Guy Swann wants to say something.
I just wanted to say, I just realized that, you know, I'm the guy who's read more about Bitcoin than anybody else you know, right? And we just had a whole bunch of stuff on the show that we were reading out loud, and you had Guy Swann on the show, and you did not take advantage of it.
I thought about that. I
just crossed my mind.
Phil, didn't I say that to you? I said that to you.
For days.
I'm like, let's get Guy to read the things. Let's get Guy to read the things. And I was like, that's rude. I was like, that's rude.
Gigi thread. You had a Gigi thread. And then I could have tackled.
It's so true.
Send it right over.
And it would have been so much easier to listen to than having my top fuck read it. Me butchering it. Nico can't read. But, dude, I thought about it. Guy, I swear to God, next time you come on the show, that's what we're going to do. But, dude,
you have to get just something to read for no reason.
I felt rude. I felt rude, bro. I felt rude. I was like, I can't do this to him. This is fucked up. But you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So I'm gonna get you to read these 3 passages from Gigi's thread. This is special. This is extra time, guys. It's extra time.
Yeah.
All right, we will do this. All right, we're starting right here. All right. In Bitcoin, work is computation. Not any kind of computation, but computation that has no shortcut. Guessing. There is no shortcut because there is no progress. Every guess stands on its own. The beautiful thing is that the work itself is embedded in the solution. The data speaks for itself. The map is the territory. There is no external source of truth required. The work is implicit in the data due to the probabilistic nature of guessing. Other mechanisms, such as proof of stake, don't have this property. You can never be sure that what you are looking at is actually the truth, since there is no external cost to create an alternative truth.
This always sounds so much better when Guy reads it.
I know, right? It's beautiful. But hey, guys, Nico can't read. Guy Swann can read. And this is exactly why you have to subscribe to the Bitcoin Audible, and it's linked down below. Guy reads everything. That's what he does. But anyways, guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the bleep-blap perspective and the catastrophic fails from the World Economic Forum and the central bankers, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode.
We're in the stage of powerful adversaries and powerful allies.